is my chosen.
This is the 999th time Kael Vossar has died. His uncle stands above him, the same uncle who raised him, who taught him to hold a sword, who smiled at family dinners, the same uncle who has murdered him 998 times before. Burning alive, drowning in icy water, stabbed through the heart, thrown from cliffs, poisoned until his organs dissolved. 999 different ways to die, 999 lifetimes of betrayal, all at the hands of his own clan. But this time, something is different. This time, something is watching. Betrayed and killed 999 times, he regresses as death's chosen to erase his clan. Before we witness the most brutal regression revenge story ever told, I need you to do something. Smash that like button right now. Hit subscribe, because you are about to watch 2 full hours of pure, calculated vengeance. This isn't a story about a hero. This is a story about a boy who suffered the impossible. Killed 999 times by his own family, and when death itself offered him power, he made a choice. Not forgiveness, not mercy. Complete, total annihilation. By the end of this story, the Vossar clan will be extinct. Every elder who ordered his execution, every enforcer who carried out the killings, every single person who watched him die 999 times and did nothing, 247 people are going to die. And you're going to witness every single one. Now let's start from the very beginning. 999 deaths ago, when Kael Vossar first opened his eyes as a child, not knowing that his entire life was a cycle of murder, orchestrated by the people who were supposed to protect him. Kael Vossar was 19 years old, a prodigy, the pride of the Vossar clan, heir to the legendary bloodline sword, a weapon that chose its master once every century. He had everything: loving family, a beautiful fiancée named Ceres, the respect of his clan, and an uncle who seemed to care for him like a son, Elder Matthias Vossar, the man who raised him after his father died, the man who taught him everything about being a warrior, the man who smiled at him every single day, the man who would murder him 999 times. The Vossar clan controlled the Shadow Peak Mountains, 12 elder families, ancient, martial traditions, and one sacred rule. The bloodline sword chooses only one heir per century. Elder Matthias wanted that sword, and Kael was in his way. Death number 1. It happened during a tournament, a simple sparring match, wooden swords, controlled environment, safe. Except the sword that pierced Kael's chest wasn't wooden anymore. Someone had switched it. An accident, they said. A tragic mistake. Kael died confused. He didn't understand. How could this happen? He looked up at the balcony as his vision faded, and there was Uncle Matthias, watching. Not shocked. Not horrified. Satisfied. But Kael didn't remember dying, because when he opened his eyes again, he was 5 years old, standing in his childhood bedroom, with no memory of the 19 years he'd just lived. The cycle had begun. Death number 2. This time he made it to his 19th birthday. There was a celebration. His engagement to Ceres was announced. Wine flowed. Everyone smiled. Ceres herself handed him the ceremonial cup. Her hands trembled slightly. He thought it was excitement. It was guilt. The poison burned through his organs in minutes. As he convulsed on the floor, choking on his own blood, he saw her face. Cold, emotionless, completely different from the girl who claimed to love him. "Did you really think I loved you?" she whispered as he died. Marrying the heir was always the plan. Then darkness. Then he was 5 years old again. No memory. The cycle continued. Deaths 3 through 10 were variations. On the same theme, training accidents, falls from high places, weapons malfunctioning at exactly the wrong moment. Each time, Kael lived and died without understanding. The clan played their parts perfectly. Grief-stricken family, shocked witnesses, tragic accidents. But by death 15, something changed. Fragments started bleeding through. Kael died on the training grounds, and in his final moments, his eyes focused on a figure in the doorway. Uncle Matthias. And suddenly, just for a second, Kael remembered. He'd seen that exact expression before, many times before. The next cycle, Kael was more cautious. He avoided dangerous situations. He questioned coincidences. And that's when the clan realized they couldn't rely on accidents anymore. Death 16. Through 30, they hunted him. Kael would try to leave the compound, to escape, and assassins would ambush him on the roads. Their fighting techniques were unmistakably Vossar. This wasn't an external threat. This was his own family trying to kill him. Death 31. Kael ran. He made it into the forest, wounded and desperate. He could hear them behind him. Torches. Voices. His own cousins calling his name like they were hunting an animal. They dragged him back to the compound. Bound. Beaten. And they didn't even pretend to hide it anymore. Death 47 changed everything. Kael was on his knees in Elder Matthias's private chamber. He begged. He cried. He asked the question that had been burning in his fragmentary memories. Why? And for the first time, his uncle told him the truth. The bloodline sword chooses only one. Heir per century, Kael. I needed you dead before the awakening ceremony. I needed that sword. And you were in my way. Kael's heart broke in that moment. Not from the betrayal. From the realization. He'd been murdered for potential he didn't even know he had. Killed for a sword he'd never wanted. Destroyed for nothing. They executed him in the courtyard. Made his family watch. It was death 50. But it wouldn't be the last. The next 150 deaths were different. Because now, the clan knew Kael was starting to remember. And they decided to make sure that even if fragments bled through, the memories would be too painful to hold on to. Death 51. They made him watch. Kael was strapped to a chair, unable to move, unable to look away, and they murdered his parents right in front of him, his mother, his father, his sister, one by one. And the person holding the blade was Cirrus. Her face was completely cold. No emotion, no hesitation. Like she'd done this 1,000 times before. Maybe she had. Then, they killed him. But not immediately. They let him scream first. Let him beg them to stop. Let him break. Deaths 52 through 75 followed the same pattern. Every cycle, they'd kill his family first. Different methods. His mother burned alive. His father drowned. His sister thrown from the fortress walls. And Kael would watch it all before they finally granted him death. The psychological torture was intentional. They wanted to break his spirit so completely that even if he remembered, he'd be too shattered to act. Death 76. Kael tried something new. The memories were clearer now. He warned his family, told them about the danger, begged them to run. His younger brother laughed in his face, called him paranoid, called him mad. The family dismissed his warnings as delusions. And then they died. Anyway, exactly as Kael said they would. And he had to watch, helpless, knowing he'd tried and failed to save them. Deaths 77 through 100 were isolation deaths. They stopped killing him quickly. Instead, they locked him in a dungeon. Magical suppression fields prevented him from growing stronger. They kept him there for years. 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. Kael grew old in that cell. His beard grew long. His body withered. His mind fractured from loneliness. And then, when he was finally broken beyond repair, they killed him. Starting over as a 5-year-old, knowing he'd just spent decades in darkness, was its own special torture. Deaths, 101 through 150, were the cruelest. They gave him hope. The clan would let him escape. Actually escape. Kael would make it to another territory. He'd build a new life, make new friends, find peace. For months, sometimes years, he'd actually be happy. And then the Vossar clan would find him. They'd burn down his new village, slaughter everyone he'd befriended, and kill him while he watched everything good in his life turn to ash. Elder Matthias called these the hope deaths. He wanted Kael to suffer loss, not just death. Wanted him to understand that there was no escape, no happiness, no future, only an eternal cycle of suffering. Deaths 151 through 200 were experimentation. The clan tested different torture methods, perfecting the art of suffering. Slow-acting poisons that dissolved him from the inside. Live burial where he'd suffocate over hours. Flesh-eating insects that consumed him while he was still conscious. Magical dissolution spells that erased him piece by piece. They were treating him like a laboratory subject, finding the most efficient ways to kill, the most painful ways to die. And then came Death 200, the revelation that changed everything. Kael was barely conscious in his cell when Elder Matthias visited. The old man looked tired, frustrated. "You've died 200 times now, nephew. The bloodline sword rejected me because you kept being reborn. But you don't remember, do you? Each time you reset as a child, memory's gone. I have to kill you again and again until the sword gives up on your cursed bloodline." The truth crashed into Kael's dying mind. He'd been unconsciously regressing since birth. Every death reset him to age 5 with no memories. This had been happening his entire existence. He'd never lived one life. He'd lived hundreds, and every single one ended in murder. The cycle wasn't just torture, it was eternal. Deaths 201 through 250 marked a turning point. Kael started retaining fragments. Not full memories, but echoes, feelings, instincts. Child Kael would wake up screaming from nightmares he didn't understand. He'd flinch away from Uncle Matthias's touch without knowing why. His body remembered the trauma even when his mind didn't. The clan noticed. The boy was broken from birth now. Perfect. But they were wrong. Those fragments were making Kael stronger, smarter, more cautious. Deaths 251 through 300, the memories became clearer. Kael started remembering how he died. Not everything, but enough. Enough to refuse the poisoned wine. Enough to avoid the training accidents. Enough to see the assassins coming. The clan adapted. No more accidents. No more pretense. They went straight to direct assassination. If Kael wouldn't die quietly, they'd kill him loud. Death 275 was the first time Kael fought back. He was 12 years old in that cycle, but he fought with the skill of someone who'd trained for lifetimes. 3 assassins broke into his room. All 3 died, by a child's hands. Elder Matthias found the bodies and knew immediately what was happening. Kael was remembering, retaining combat knowledge across cycles. This was worse than they'd feared. Deaths, 301 through 400, became a guerrilla war. Teenage Kael used his past life knowledge to wage war against his own clan. He killed elders, destroyed supply lines, became a ghost in their own compound. He died fighting every single time, but he made them pay for it. Death 333. Kael almost escaped. He made it all the way to the border of Vossar territory. Freedom was literally in sight. Then they caught him, dragged him back. And the punishment was creative. They started killing random civilians, blaming Kael's actions for innocent deaths. weaponizing his guilt against him. Every person he tried to warn, they executed. Every friend he made, they slaughtered. They turned his rebellion into a massacre of innocents. And Kael, for all his strength, couldn't bear that weight. Deaths 401 through 500 were different. Kael stopped fighting. He accepted the cycle, not with despair, with purpose. He spent those lives studying, breaking into forbidden archives, learning clan secrets, searching for an answer, and in Death 437, he found it. An ancient text, barely legible, talking about a god who watches those who suffer unjustly, a being called Death itself. The text said that anyone who dies unjustly 1,000 times under the same sky becomes Death's champion, gains powers beyond mortal comprehension, becomes unkillable. Kael did the math. He'd died 437 times. He needed 563 more deaths. Then he'd have power the clan couldn't stop. Then he could make them pay for everything. Every torture, every betrayal, every murdered family member. Hope ignited for the first time in hundreds of lifetimes. But it wasn't hope for peace. It was hope for vengeance. Kael changed strategies. He stopped trying to survive. He started trying to die faster. He provoked the clan, forced them to execute him again and again, racing toward his transformation, racing toward the moment when he'd become something they couldn't kill, something that would erase them all. Death 500. Kael walked to his execution with a smile. Elder Matthias watched, disturbed. He didn't understand why his nephew suddenly seemed eager to die, why he'd stopped resisting after so many cycles of rebellion. Something was wrong. But by then, it was too late to stop. Deaths 501 through 600 passed in a blur. Kael manipulated the clan into killing him as fast as possible. He insulted elders publicly, attacked important clan members, made his death mandatory. He died every few days instead of living for years. The death counter accelerated. Death 567. The Elder Council held an emergency meeting. 12 elders gathered in their chamber, panic in their voices. "He's changed," Elder Saren said. "He's not trying to escape anymore. He's embracing death. He's trying to reach something," Elder Matthias realized, horror dawning on his face. "We need to stop killing him. Immediately." But it was too late. Kael had made it impossible. He'd committed crimes that demanded execution. To spare him now would be to show weakness. The clan's own laws trapped them. Death 601 through 750. They tried a new strategy. Imprisonment. They locked Kael in maximum security. Magical suppression chains, constant guard. The plan was simple. Keep him alive forever. Never kill him again. Let him age and die naturally, breaking the cycle. Kael had anticipated this. He had dozens of ways to die even in a sealed cell. Starvation. Self-inflicted wounds. Forcing his own body to shut down through sheer will. He'd died enough times to know exactly how to make it happen. The clan watched in horror as their prisoner killed himself again and again, despite their best efforts to keep him alive. Elder Matthias broke down completely. The man who'd orchestrated 750 murders was now desperately trying to prevent the 751st. "What have we created?" he whispered, staring at Kael's latest corpse. Death 751 through 900 became the ultimate irony. The clan that had killed Kael 750 times was now fighting desperately to preserve his life. Healers worked around the clock. Magical life support systems, feeding tubes, resurrection spells when he managed to die anyway. But Kael had absorbed too much knowledge over too many lifetimes. He knew exactly how to sabotage healing magic, how to make potions ineffective, how to die even when surrounded by the best healers in the clan. Death 800. Ceres visited him in his cell. the woman who'd betrayed him hundreds of times. For the first time in any cycle, she showed genuine fear, genuine regret. "We should have just let you have the sword," she whispered. What we've done, it's wrong." Kael's eyes were dead as he looked at her. "Now you feel guilt? 800 deaths too late, Saris. Deaths 901 through 998. The final sprint. Kael died multiple times per day now, sometimes multiple times in a single day. The clan couldn't keep up. The killing had become a machine and they couldn't shut it down. Supernatural signs appeared. The sky above Vossar territory turned permanently dark. Blood-red clouds swirled overhead. Animals fled the mountains in massive waves. Birds refused to fly over the compound. At night, people heard whispers in the darkness. The dead calling out, warning them. Death 950. In his dying moment, Kael saw something. A massive presence, infinite darkness, countless faces swirling in a void. Death itself was watching now, waiting, preparing for the covenant. "Soon, my chosen," a voice whispered from beyond. "Soon you'll have eternity to make them pay." Deaths, 951 through 998, passed in rapid succession, set to mounting dread. The death counter was prominently visible to the clan now. They could see it approaching. 996, 997, 998. The clan tried everything. Forbidden rituals, prayers to ancient gods, deals with demons, anything to stop what was coming. Nothing worked. The momentum was unstoppable. Death 998. Elder Matthias, broken and desperate, took matters into his own hands. He went to Kael's cell personally. He was crying. The man who'd murdered his nephew hundreds of times was weeping like a child. "Please, Kael," he begged. "Whatever you're becoming, stop. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. For everything. For all of it. Please just stop." Kael looked at him with eyes that held the memory of 998 lifetimes of pain. And he smiled. "You'll be sorrier, uncle. Then the execution, then darkness, then death." And the 8 was complete. One more to go. Just one more death between Kael and apotheosis. One more death between the Vossar clan and their extinction. The entire clan gathered in the central courtyard. Not to execute him, to seal him. They decided on a different approach. If they couldn't keep him alive and couldn't let him die, they'd trap him in between. Seal his soul beyond death's reach. Lock him in a prison where he could neither live nor die. 12 elders. Massive ritual circle. Ancient binding magic. They poured everything they had into this final desperate act. The spell activated. Chains of light erupted from the circle, wrapping around Kael's body, binding his soul, crushing him slowly between existence and non-existence. His body broke. His bones shattered. His organs ruptured. His heart stopped. Death number 999. And in that moment, everything stopped. Time froze. Color drained from the world. Every living thing became a statue. The only movement was Kael's consciousness being pulled away, pulled down into absolute darkness, down into the void where death waited. And in that infinite nothingness, 2 voices spoke. 999 deaths under the same moon. 999 betrayals by the same blood. A presence of incomprehensible scale manifested. Not a skeleton with a scythe, but something far more ancient, far more terrible. A swirling void of ended lives, countless faces of the dead spinning in its form. Every person who'd ever died unjustly, every victim, every martyr. every soul that screamed for justice and got none. Death itself had come to make an offer, and Kael Vossar, who'd suffered what no human should endure, was about to be given a choice. The ritual chamber was ancient, carved from the mountain itself centuries ago. 12 points on the floor, marked in silver. 12 elders standing at those points, channeling every ounce of power they possessed. And in the center, chained to the stone, was Kael Vossar, age 23, about to die for the 999th time. Elder Matthias led the chant. His voice cracked with desperation. "By the ancient covenant, we seal this cursed soul beyond death's reach," the magic responded. Chains of pure light erupted from the ritual circle. Not physical chains. These were bindings of raw energy, wrapping around Kael's body and spirit simultaneously, crushing him, breaking him. The elders poured everything into this spell. Every secret technique, every forbidden art. This wasn't just an execution. This was an attempt to trap Kael between life and death forever. The pain was extraordinary. Kael felt his bones crack, his organs rupture. Blood pooled beneath him as the magical pressure increased. The elders were trying to prevent his death while destroying his body. Keep him in eternal suffering without triggering another regression. They didn't understand. This was exactly what Kael needed. The sealing chains tightened around his heart, squeezed. His heartbeat faltered, slowed, stopped. Death number 999. The contract was complete. Time froze. The world turned gray. The elders became statues mid-chant. Dust particles hung suspended in the air. The only thing that moved was Kael's consciousness being pulled away from his body, pulled down into darkness, into the space between worlds, into the realm where death waited. Absolute nothingness. No light, no sound, no sensation, just void. Kael floated in that emptiness, and for the first time in 999 lifetimes, he felt no pain. Just anticipation. 999 deaths under the same moon. The voice came from everywhere and nowhere. Ancient, vast, inevitable. 999 betrayals by the same blood. And then it appeared, not appeared, manifested, became. A presence so massive that Kael's mind struggled to comprehend its scale. This wasn't a skeleton in robes. This was something far more primal. A swirling void of ended lives. Countless faces spinning in its form. Every person who'd ever died unjustly. Every soul that screamed for justice and received only silence. Death itself. The concept made manifest. The end of all things given consciousness. Kael Vossar, the entity spoke, its voice containing multitudes. "You have suffered what no soul should endure. I offer you choice." 3 options materialized before Kael. Not words, pure concepts that he understood instantly. The first option, eternal rest, peace. No more pain, no more memory, just silence. An end to 999 lifetimes of suffering. The void would embrace him, and he'd never hurt again, never think again, never exist again. Just nothing. Forever. The second option, reincarnation. A new life, a new body, a new family in a different time and place. He'd forget the Vossars ever existed. Forget every death, every betrayal, every moment of pain. Start fresh as someone completely new. A clean slate. True rebirth. The third option, apotheosis. Become death's chosen. Regress to age 5 with all 999 lifetimes of memory intact. Gain powers that would make death itself his weapon. Return to the moment before it all went wrong and erase every single person responsible. No mercy. No survivors. Complete extinction of the Vossar clan, but there was a price. A contract that couldn't be broken. He'd have to kill them all. Every single guilty party. 247 people. No exceptions. And when the last Vossar died by his hand, he'd have to choose again. Serve death eternally as a reaper of souls. Or finally, rest in peace. Kael didn't hesitate. Not even for a moment. I choose vengeance. Give me the power, and I'll paint the mountains red with Vossar blood. Death's approval resonated through the void. Then rise, my chosen. Rise as the reaper of the Vossar clan. The transformation began. Dark energy poured into Kael's soul like a flood. Not gentle, not kind. This was power earned through 999 deaths. This was justice distilled into raw force. His spiritual form burned with black flames as the abilities seared themselves into his very existence. Eternal regression. The ability to reset to age 5 at will, while retaining every memory permanently. Never forgetting. Never losing knowledge. Every skill. Every experience. Every moment of those 999 lifetimes locked into his consciousness forever. Death's gaze. The power to see how anyone will die. To perceive the threads of fate that lead to death. To know with certainty when, where, and how every person around him will meet their end. And more importantly, to change those threads. To guarantee death when he chose it. Soul reaping. Every person Kael killed, their combat skills and memories would become his. Their lifetime of experience absorbed in an instant. With 247 targets. Ahead of him, he'd eventually possess the collective knowledge of nearly 1,000 years of martial expertise. Necrotic touch. The ability to inflict wounds that couldn't heal. That guaranteed death no matter how powerful the victim's healing abilities. A touch that turned flesh to decay. That made survival impossible. Army of the Fallen. The power to summon shadows of those who died unjustly. Temporary warriors made of darkness who'd fight at his command. The more people he killed, the more soldiers he could raise, and finally, an immortal body. Kael couldn't die permanently, not unless the contract was fulfilled, or he chose death himself. He could be wounded, could suffer, but he couldn't be killed. The Vossar clan had created an unkillable enemy, and they didn't even know it yet. The mark appeared on Kael's chest, a burning symbol, black flames forming the shape of a skull with wings, death's claim, proof of the contract, a brand that would never fade. When the last Vossar dies by your hand, death's voice echoed. You may choose. Join me as Eternal Reaper, or finally rest in peace. But until then, you are mine, and they are yours to judge. Kael looked at his transformed spiritual form, power radiating from every part of his being, the weakness of mortality stripped away, the limitations of flesh transcended. He was no longer human. He was vengeance given form. Let's begin. The void dissolved. White light flooded Kael's senses. Reality reformed around him. Solid ground. The feeling of fabric against skin. The smell of morning air. The sound of birds chirping outside a window. Kael gasped and opened his eyes. He was lying in a bed. A small bed. A child's bed. His hands shot up to his face and he saw them. Tiny hands. 5-year-old hands. Small fingers. Smooth skin unmarked by scars. He sat up quickly. The room spun. His adult consciousness was crammed into a child's brain, every memory of 999 lifetimes intact. But his body was that of a 5-year-old boy, weak, slow, limited, frustrating. Kael swung his legs over the bed and stood. His center of gravity was all wrong. The room looked enormous. From this height, he walked to the mirror on the wall and stared at his reflection. An innocent face looked back. Round cheeks, bright eyes, the face of a child who hadn't suffered, who hadn't known pain, who hadn't died 999 times. But the eyes were wrong. Dead, ancient, knowing. A 5-year-old's face with eyes that had seen centuries of horror. "What have I become?" Kael whispered. His voice was high-pitched, childish. It sounded wrong with the consciousness behind it. He knew exactly where he was, when he was. This was his childhood bedroom in the Vossar compound. The timeline overlay appeared in his vision, confirming what he already knew. 18 years before the 999th death. Regression Day 1. He had 18 years to prepare, 18 years to plan, 18 years to systematically destroy every person who'd wronged him. The door opened. Kael spun, his hand instinctively moving toward a weapon he didn't have. Then he froze. His mother stood in the doorway, alive, young, beautiful, holding a tray with breakfast, smiling at him with pure maternal love. "Good morning, my little treasure," she said warmly. "Did you sleep well? Big day today. Uncle Matthias is taking you to your first sword lesson." Kael's chest tightened. Memories flooded back. His mother, burning alive in death 51, drowning in death 63, stabbed through the heart in death 78. This woman had died so many times because of him, because she'd had the misfortune of being his mother. And she had no idea. No memory. In this timeline, she was still innocent. Still alive. Every instinct screamed at him to tell her, to warn her, to grab her and run as far from this compound as possible. But he couldn't. Not yet. Warning her now would only alert the clan. Get her killed faster. He had to play his part, perfectly. Had to be the innocent child they expected. Kael forced a smile onto his face. The expression felt wrong, fake. But children smiled. Innocent children who hadn't been murdered 999 times smiled at their mothers. "I can't wait, Mother," he said in his high childish voice. "Uncle Matthias is my favorite." The lie tasted like poison, but it worked. His mother beamed, kissed his forehead, and left the room. Kael stood there, feeling her kiss on his skin. The last kind touch he'd received in hundreds of lifetimes. He memorized the feeling. He'd need it for what came next. Alone in his room, Kael tested his powers. He held out his small hand and concentrated. Dark energy flickered across his palm. The necrotic touch responded to his will. He focused harder, and shadows materialized in the corner. 2 of them, vague humanoid shapes. The army of the fallen at his command. His powers were real. Limited by his child body, yes, but real. Functional. Growing. As he aged, as he absorbed more souls, he'd become unstoppable. The Vossar clan had 18 years left to live. They just didn't know it yet. Kael walked to his window and looked out over the compound, the training grounds, the Great Hall, the Elders' Quarters. All of it would burn. Every stone would be torn down. Every banner would be soaked in blood. By the time he was done, the name Vossar would be erased from history. No survivors, no legacy, just ashes. He saw movement in the courtyard. Elder Matthias, his uncle, the architect of 999 murders, the man who'd destroyed him again and again and again. He was waving up at Kael's window, smiling, playing the role of the caring uncle perfectly. Kael waved back, smiled, played his own role, the innocent nephew who loved and trusted his family, who had no idea what was coming. But inside, behind that childish smile, Kael was counting. 247 targets. Elder Matthias would be the last, the very last. Kael would save him for the end. Let him watch everything he built crumble. Let him see every person he cared about die. Let him experience a fraction of the suffering he'd inflicted. And then, only then, when Matthias had nothing left, when he'd lost everything, when he finally understood the weight of 999 deaths, only then would Kael grant him the mercy of death. Kael turned from the window and prepared for his day. He had a sword lesson to attend, skills to pretend to learn for the first time, an uncle to smile at while planning his destruction. The countdown had begun. 18 years until the Vossar clan's extinction. 18 years until 999 deaths were avenged. Death's chosen had returned, and he remembered everything. The first years were performance. Pure, calculated performance. Kael had to become everything the clan wanted. The perfect heir. The beloved nephew. The prodigy who exceeded all expectations. Because the best predator is the one that doesn't. Look dangerous. Age 5. His first sword lesson with Uncle Matthias. Kael held the wooden practice sword and pretended to struggle with its weight. He stumbled. Made mistakes. Acted like a normal child learning for the first time. And then, gradually, he let his natural talent show. Just enough to impress, not enough to threaten. Incredible, Elder Matthias breathed, watching young Kael complete a form that usually took months to learn. You're a natural, nephew. You'll surpass children twice your age in no time. Kael smiled innocently. Inside, he was calculating. He'd mastered these techniques 999 times. This was nothing. But Matthias needed to believe Kael was talented, not supernaturally skilled. Needed to think he could still control this prodigy. Still kill him when the time came. Age 6. Kael began building relationships. Marcus Vossar, Elder Matthias's son, was 8 years old. A good kid. Genuinely kind. During training, a platform collapsed. Marcus was falling. Kael caught him, saved his life. It looked like quick reflexes. It was actually Death's gaze showing him the accident 3 seconds before. It happened. You saved me! Marcus hugged him. You're my best friend, Kael. Best friend. The words cut deeper than any blade, because Kael knew the truth. In 18 years, he'd have to kill Marcus. The innocent boy hugging him right now would die by his hand, because Marcus was Matthias's son, and sons suffer for their father's sins. That was the price of being born a Vossar, but that was years away. For now, Kael smiled and hugged him back. Age 7. Saris entered his life properly. She was 10 years old, beautiful even as a child, kind, talented. She taught Kael flower arranging, a clan tradition. Her hands guided his, showing him how to position the blooms. You're so talented, Kael, she said sweetly. Everyone says you're special. I think we'll be married someday. Kael blushed on command, acted shy, played the part perfectly, but he was studying her, memorizing her patterns, cataloging her weaknesses, finding the exact emotional pressure points that would hurt most when he finally destroyed her. She'd killed him personally 247 times. She'd get 247 different kinds of suffering in return. But not yet. First, he needed information. The nights were his. While the clan slept, 5-year-old Kael would sneak out of his room. His small size was an advantage. He could fit through gaps adults couldn't. Access areas that weren't guarded because who'd suspect a toddler? The clan archives, forbidden to anyone below elder rank. Kael picked the lock with a bent hairpin. Inside, he found everything. Ledgers showing Elder Matthias embezzling clan funds. Evidence of assassinations ordered by the Elder Council. Records of slavery operations. The Vossar clan wasn't just corrupt. It was rotten to its core. Every elder had blood on their hands, Every single one deserved what was coming. Kael photographed the documents in his mind. Perfect recall was one benefit of 999 lifetimes. He'd use this information later, turn the elders against each other, weaponize their crimes, make them destroy themselves before he finished the job. Age 7, he made his first move. Small, subtle. A warehouse manager had been stealing from clan supplies. Kael found evidence and left it where the Elder Council would discover it. The manager was executed publicly for betraying the clan. Kael watched from the crowd, his child's face carefully neutral. But he'd done more than expose a thief. He'd planted false evidence linking the theft to Elder Matthias's son, Marcus. Seeds of doubt. The other elders now suspected Marcus might be involved. Matthias defended his son, but the suspicion remained. The first crack in the Elder Council's unity. Kael was 8 years old and he'd already started their civil war. They just didn't know it yet. Training intensified. During the day, Kael was the perfect student. At night, he pushed his child body to its limits, running until his legs gave out, practicing forms until his muscles screamed, building the muscle memory he'd need later. His body was weak, but it was growing. Every day, a little stronger. Every day, closer to the power he'd need to kill 247 people. Age 8, the awakening ceremony. The entire clan gathered at the sacred shrine. The bloodline sword sat in its stone pedestal, glowing with ancient power. Tradition said the sword chose its heir at age 8. Every century, one child would place their hand on the hilt, and the sword would accept them, grant them incredible power, make them the clan's champion. This was why Matthias had killed Kael 999 times. To prevent this moment, to steal the sword's power for himself. Young Kael walked to the shrine. Every eye watched him. The prodigy, the perfect heir. Surely the sword would choose him. Kael placed his small hand on the hilt and pushed his consciousness toward the weapon. The sword responded immediately. It recognized him, wanted him, started to bond, and Kael deliberately rejected it. He pushed back with death's power. The two forces clashed, dark energy versus holy light. The explosion threw Kael backward across the chamber. He landed hard, looking shocked and hurt. The clan gasped. The sword had rejected him. Their prodigy wasn't the chosen one after all. Elder Matthias tried to hide his relief. Perhaps Kael isn't the heir we thought. Perfect. Kael had wanted this. The sword would have conflicted with death's power anyway. But more importantly, Matthias now thought Kael wasn't a threat. Thought the cycle was broken. Thought he could relax. That false security would cost him everything. Age 9, Kael began truly mastering his powers. He'd sneak away from the compound, go deep into the forest where no one could see. And there, he'd practice being Death's chosen. His first test subject was a bandit. The man had attacked travelers on the mountain road, killed innocent people for their money. By any measure, he deserved death. Kael tracked him to his camp. The bandit never saw the 9-year-old child coming. One touch. Necrotic touch activated. The bandit's chest dissolved from the inside. He died screaming, not understanding what was happening. And then Kael activated soul reaping. The bandit's memories flowed into him like water. 50 years of knife-fighting experience. Techniques Kael had never learned. Skills that would make him deadlier. Kael stood over the body, processing the new knowledge. Every person he killed made him stronger. 247 clan members meant 247 lifetimes of absorbed experience. By the end, he'd be unstoppable. He practiced Army of the Fallen next, summoned shadows of people who died unjustly. His own parents appeared, dark, ethereal versions of themselves. They didn't recognize him, didn't speak, but they obeyed his commands. They'd guard him, fight for him. 2 soldiers from beyond death. The limitation was numbers. He could only maintain 10 shadows simultaneously, but that would grow. As his power increased, he'd command armies. For now, 10 would have to be enough. Age 10, Kael built external alliances. He got lost during a clan expedition and found himself at a mercenary camp. The Silver Fang Company, honorable killers, warriors who fought for gold but followed a code. Captain Darius, the leader, found Kael wandering. "Kid, you're in the wrong place. Vossar territory is that way." "I know," Kael said calmly. "I came to hire you, 10 years from now." Darius stared at the 10-year-old. "What?" Kael gave him information. Detailed, specific information about a bandit raid that would happen in 3 days. Locations, numbers, tactics. Things a child shouldn't know, couldn't know. Unless they could see the future. 3 days later, everything happened exactly as Kael predicted. Darius claimed the bounty and made a fortune. He sought out Kael immediately. "How did you know?" Kael smiled mysteriously. "I know many things, Captain. Remember my face. When I'm 18, I'll need an army. Be ready." He paid Darius with the location of hidden clan treasure, enough gold to buy the mercenaries' loyalty, and investment in the future. When the time came to destroy the clan, Kael would need external forces. Darius and his company would be part of that. Age 11 to 12, Kael entered the clan's warrior academy. 50 young clan members training together. Competition was fierce. Everyone wanted to be first, to earn prestige and power. Kael deliberately placed second in everything. Every test, every contest, every ranking. He was good enough to be noticed, but not good enough to threaten anyone. The perfect position. First place always went to Kael Vossar, an arrogant elder's son. Talented but cocky, he lorded his superiority over everyone. "You're talented, cousin," Kael said to Kael, "but you'll never surpass true nobility like me." Kael bowed respectfully. "You're right, cousin. I still have much to learn from you." Inside, he was laughing. Kael would die in year 16, screaming and begging. Kael had already planned exactly how. Being second place was strategy. Being underestimated was survival. Let them all think he was inferior. Made it easier when the time came to prove them wrong. Age 12 brought complications. His relationship with Saris deepened. She was 15 now. Beautiful, skilled. Every boy in the clan wanted her attention. She only had eyes for Kael. They trained together, sparred. She'd correct his form, her hands positioning his body. The touches lingered. The looks became meaningful. Everyone could see it. The perfect couple. The clan's golden future together. "Kael," she said one day after training, "when we're married, I'll make you so happy. We'll lead this clan together." Kael took her hand, blushed. "I can't imagine life without you." But Death's gaze was active. He could see her future. See the moment in year 5 when she'd betray him. When she'd choose power over love. When she'd show her true face, just like she had 247 times before. The vision was clear, certain, unavoidable. "I'll make sure you live long enough to betray me," Kael thought. "Then you'll understand suffering." Age 13, the games within games escalated. Kael began his campaign to fracture the Elder Council. Anonymous letters, forged evidence, carefully planted suspicions. He'd studied these men for lifetimes, knew their fears, their ambitions, their paranoia. A letter to Elder Theron. "Matthias plans to eliminate you next. The recent execution was a test of power. You're his next target." A letter to Elder Matthias. Theron is building an alliance to overthrow you. 3 elders have already joined him. Neither letter was entirely false. Both elders did have those ambitions. Kael was just accelerating the inevitable, pushing them toward confrontation faster. The Elder Council meetings became tense. Elders brought bodyguards, watched each other with suspicion. The unity that had held for decades was cracking. And Kael was the fault line they couldn't see. He went further, sold clan secrets to rival clans, patrol routes, warehouse locations, guard rotations. The Crimson Blade clan paid well for that information. 2 months later, they raided Vossar supply lines. The clan blamed internal traitors. 3 innocent elders were imprisoned. The council fractured further. Kael was 13 years old, and he'd already set their civil war in motion. But he also built his public image. Age 13 tournament. The annual clan championship. Kael dominated. Early rounds. Made it to the semifinals against Marcus, his best friend, Elder Matthias's son. The bout everyone wanted to see. Kael could have won easily. He had 999 lifetimes of combat experience, but he deliberately lost, made it look close, made Marcus work for it. And when Marcus landed the winning strike, Kael went down dramatically. The crowd cheered. Marcus won the championship. Elder Matthias beamed with pride, and Kael played the perfect runner-up. Congratulated Marcus, supported him, showed nothing but friendship and respect. The image was flawless. The perfect nephew who didn't threaten anyone, who knew his place, who celebrated others' victories. Inside, he was counting. Marcus's death was scheduled for year 18. It would hurt, killing his only genuine friend. But the contract demanded all guilty Vossars die. And Marcus's crime was being born to the wrong father. Unfair, tragic, unavoidable. Age 14. The killing began. Real killing. Permanent killing. No more games. No more patience. Kael had spent 9 years preparing. Now it was time to start collecting the debt. He created a list. His private journal. 48 enforcers, who'd personally executed him in past lives. Each one sketched from memory. Their crimes listed beside their faces. Death tallies marked. The order of execution planned. First target, Enforcer Gareth, captain of Border Patrol. A brutal man who enjoyed inflicting pain. In past lives, he'd killed Kael 34 times, each execution sadistic. Slow, designed for maximum suffering. Kael volunteered for Border Patrol training. Gareth took interest in the prodigy. Private, sessions, remote locations, the perfect setup. "Again, boy!" Gareth shouted, striking Kael's shoulder hard enough to bruise. "You're too weak! Move faster!" The training was violent, harsh. Gareth enjoyed causing pain, and Kael let him, for now, learning his patterns, waiting for the perfect moment. That moment came in a remote training ground. Dawn, mist rolling through trees, no witnesses. Gareth turned his back. Kael moved, impossibly fast, too fast for his age. Death's chosen speed. His hand pierced through Gareth's back and out his chest. Necrotic touch activated. "What? How?" Gareth gasped, staring at the small hand protruding from his ribcage. Kael leaned close, whispered, "You killed me 34 times. I remember every single one." "What are you talking about?" Gareth choked on blood. "You'll never understand. And that makes this sweeter." Soul reaping activated. 40 years of combat experience flowed into Kael. Guard patrol tactics, tracking skills, interrogation techniques, all of it becoming his. Gareth collapsed. Dead. The wound prevented any healing, guaranteed death. Kael positioned the body carefully, added claw marks, scattered the scene, made it look like a beast attack. By the time anyone found Gareth, It would be impossible to tell the truth. Just another tragedy in dangerous mountains. Kael stood over his first kill. His hand shook, not from fear, from something else. A moment of humanity questioning what he was doing. Was this justice? Or was it just more murder? Was he any better than them? Then the memories flooded back. All 999 deaths. Every torture. Every betrayal. Every time they laughed while he died. His hands stopped shaking. His resolve hardened. No mercy, he whispered. Not after what they did. 1 down. 246 to go. The next year, enforcers started dying. 1 per month. Always different methods. Training. Accident here. Poisoning there. Throat slit during night patrol. Each death explained away. No pattern visible. The clan suspected nothing. But the Elder Council noticed. 8 enforcers in 1 year. That was unusual. They convened meetings. Discussed potential threats. Rival clans. Internal traitor. Beast. Attacks? They never suspected the perfect nephew. The beloved prodigy. The 15-year-old who smiled at family dinners and trained diligently every day. How could they? He was everything they wanted him to be. Respectful, talented, loyal. At night, Kael lived a different life. Black robes, face covered, hunting his targets through the compound. Using shadows. Using death's powers. Eliminating the guilty one by one. Each kill made him stronger. Each absorbed soul added to his power. By age 15, he possessed the combined experience of 11 master warriors, and he was just getting started. Age 15 brought a milestone, the formal betrothal ceremony. Kael and Saris announced as future clan leaders. The entire compound celebrated. Music, dancing, joy. The perfect young couple who'd lead them into a golden future. Saris wore ceremonial dress. She was radiant. When she kissed Kael for the first time, the crowd cheered. Kael acted nervous, blushed, played the role of young love perfectly. Inside, he was counting. 3 years until her betrayal. 3 years until she chose another man. 3 years until he'd show her what real pain felt like. He'd already planned it. Every detail, every moment. She'd suffer in ways that made death look like mercy. But for now, he smiled, held her, let her believe in their future together. The best revenge needed patience. And Kael had learned patience across 999 lifetimes. He also planted the seeds of her destruction. Befriended Jaren, 20 years old, ambitious, and an elder candidate. Exactly the type of man Saris would choose over love when the time came. Kael pretended to confide in him, acted insecure about his worth, planted doubt about his relationship. Sometimes I wonder if Saris only loves me for my potential, Kael said to Jaren, perfect vulnerability in his voice. Brother, she adores you, Jaren reassured him. But Kael saw it, the slight flicker in Jaren's eyes. Interest, opportunity. The seed was planted. Jaren was now primed to pursue Saris when Kael created the opening. Everything was proceeding according to plan. Age 15, late at night, Kael reviewed his progress. 11 kills complete. 11 of 247. 8 years had passed. 10 remained. The Elder Council's unity was at 35%, down from 95%. Matthias's reputation was declining as internal conflicts grew. He was ahead of schedule. The Vossar clan was fracturing from within. They were killing each other, doubting each other, destroying themselves. And standing in the center of it all, orchestrating every move, was the boy they'd murdered 999 times. Kael closed his journal. Tomorrow, he'd attend. More training. Smile at his uncle, plan the next death, and the day after that, he'd do it again. Day after day, month after month, year after year, until the last Vossar drew their final breath. The countdown continued, 10 years until complete extinction, and no one suspected a thing. Age 16. Kael's coming-of-age ceremony. The entire clan gathered in the great hall. Ceremonial drums, incense burning. Elder Matthias presiding over the ritual. Kael knelt before his uncle as the clan warrior tattoo was inked into his skin. The mark that signified full membership, full freedom, full rights to operate without supervision. Today, my nephew joins our ranks as a full warrior of the Vossar clan, Matthias announced proudly. The clan cheered. They saw a perfect young man, talented, respectful, the future of their bloodline. They had no idea they were celebrating the icy arrival of their executioner. Because now, Kael didn't need anyone's permission to move freely, didn't need excuses to be alone. He could hunt whenever he wanted. And the killing was about to escalate dramatically. First target among the elders, Elder Theron, the man who'd taught Kael politics, who'd acted as mentor, who'd trusted him completely. In original timelines, Theron had watched Kael die 47 times and never intervened. Never tried to stop it, just watched. That was enough. Theron invited Kael to his private library. Late night, wine and strategy books. The perfect setting for a private discussion about clan politics. Your uncle is dangerous, Kael, Theron said, pouring wine. He's eliminated 3 rivals this year alone. I want you to join me. Together we can remove Matthias, and you'll become the youngest Elder Council member in history. It was a generous offer. Power, position, everything a 16-year-old should want. Kael stood, walked, to where Theron sat. The elder looked up, expecting an answer. Kael's hand moved to Theron's throat faster than the old man could react. Necrotic touch activated. The flesh dissolved. Theron tried to scream but couldn't. His vocal cords were already gone. His eyes went wide with shock and horror and confusion. You watched me die 47 times, Kael whispered. I counted. Theron's dying brain couldn't process the words. Didn't understand. Had no memory of those other timelines. He died confused and afraid, which was exactly what Kael wanted. Soul reaping activated. 40 years of political manipulation, absorbed in seconds. Kael now understood every backdoor deal, every hidden alliance, every secret in the clan's power structure. He positioned the body carefully. Suicide by poison. Forged a confession note admitting to crimes against the clan. By morning, when servants found Theron's corpse, it would be an open and shut case, a traitor taking the coward's way out. 7 elders down to 6, and the clan suspected nothing. But Kael wasn't stopping. He was accelerating. The next target was already selected. Elder Sylvana, female elder, master of poisons. She'd personally killed Kael 89 times with various toxins. She'd enjoyed experimenting on him, treated him like a laboratory subject, testing compounds, recording results, scientific torture. She taught Kael about poisons as part of his education. Defensive knowledge, she called it. How to identify toxins, how to counteract them. She had no idea she was teaching her own murderer. Kael waited until she was alone in her private chambers, testing a new compound. He entered silently. She looked up, surprised but not alarmed. Just the prodigy, the perfect student. Kael, what are you doing here so late? Returning something you gave me, Kael said. His hand struck faster than she could defend. Injected her with a compound of his own making. Every poison she'd used on him. All of them, simultaneously. Her veins turned black immediately. The toxins fought each other in her bloodstream, each one causing different agonies. She collapsed, convulsing. What? Did you? She gasped. 50 different poisons, Kael said calmly. watching her suffer. You used each one on me at least once. I remember how they felt. Do you? She screamed. The pain was indescribable. Multiple organ systems failing simultaneously, nerve endings on fire, blood boiling, skin dissolving from the inside. It took 10 minutes for her to die. Kael timed it. He wanted her to suffer exactly as long as he had in death cycle 156. 10 minutes of pure agony. Then mercy. Then death. Then soul reaping. Poison mastery absorbed. The clan found her the next morning. Concluded she'd accidentally tested something on herself. A tragic mistake. Brilliant scientist, they said. Such a loss. If only they'd known she'd been executed for crimes they couldn't remember. 6 elders down to 5. Next came Elder Drakon, Master Swordsman, the man who'd trained generations of warriors, who'd killed Kael 34 times during training accidents, who'd enjoyed pushing students past their limits, past survival. He agreed to a private sparring session with Kael. Dawn, secluded training ground, mist rolling through the clearing, just teacher and student, testing skills, completely normal, except Kael wasn't a student anymore. Again, boy, Draken commanded. You're still too slow. The old warrior didn't take Kael seriously at first. 16 years old, talented but inexperienced. He expected an easy session, light sparring, teaching moments. Instead, Kael moved with speed that shouldn't have been possible, struck with precision that came from 19 absorbed lifetimes of combat expertise. Drakon's eyes went wide. Impossible, he breathed. You're moving like I've trained for 999 lifetimes? Kael finished. Because I have. The fight was brief, brutal. Kael used every technique Drakon had taught him, but in reverse. Counter moves the master had never anticipated. The finishing blow was perfect. A sword strike through the heart. The exact technique from Death Cycle 87, when Drakon had killed Kael with that same strike. You taught me this, Kael said as Drakon died. Death 287. Remember? Drakon didn't remember, but he understood in his final seconds that he'd created something far beyond his control. Then darkness, then soul reaping. Decades of sword mastery flowing into Kael's consciousness. The body was left in the training ground. Heart attack during exercise, the healers concluded. Tragic, but not suspicious. Elder warriors sometimes push themselves too hard. It happened. 5 elders left. And finally someone noticed the pattern. Commander Vex, the clan's legendary investigator, the man who never failed to find the truth. Age 45. Scarred from 100 battles. With eyes that saw through deception, he'd been watching, recording, analyzing, and he'd reached a conclusion that terrified him. Vex summoned Kael to security headquarters. The interrogation room was sparse, just a table, 2 chairs, and a man who suspected the impossible. I'm interviewing everyone who had access to the deceased elders, Vex said. His voice was calm, but his eyes were hunting. He asked detailed questions. Where was Kael on specific nights? Why was he near certain locations? How did he explain the coincidences? Kael answered perfectly. Every alibi checked out. Every explanation made sense. He'd spent years preparing for this moment, but there was one crack, one tiny slip. When Vex mentioned Mirana's accusation, Kael smiled, just for a fraction of a second. An involuntary expression of satisfaction. Vex caught it, saw it, knew. You smiled, Vex said quietly. Just now, you smiled. Kael's face became innocent immediately. I'm sorry, Commander. I don't understand. But the damage was done. Vex knew. He couldn't prove it, had no evidence. But he knew with absolute certainty that the golden child was killing elders. That the perfect nephew was a monster wearing human skin, age 17. The killing continued, but the circumstances changed. Because now Vex was watching, constantly, assigning agents to shadow Kael, investigating every moment of his day, making it nearly impossible to act directly. So Kael adapted. He used his army of the fallen, summoned shadow warriors to kill while he maintained perfect alibis. Elder Korik was the test case, surrounded by security in his private bedroom, guards at every entrance, magical wards on the windows, impossible to breach. Kael was at a family dinner. Dozens of witnesses, laughing, eating, playing the perfect nephew. And a mile away, his shadow warrior materialized in Korik's locked room. No entry point, no physical form to detect, just death arriving from nowhere. Korik never had a chance. The shadow used Kael's necrotic touch. The elder died screaming, unable to comprehend what was killing him. Guards burst in, found the body, found no killer, no evidence, no explanation. Paranoia exploded. "It's a ghost," people whispered. "A vengeful spirit." The clan was terrified of an enemy they couldn't see, couldn't fight, that could appear anywhere. Kill anyone, and vanish without trace. Vex studied the scene and knew this was Kael. Somehow. But how do you prove a 16-year-old can kill from a distance with witnesses confirming his alibi? 3 elders remained, and one of them was about to make a fatal mistake. Elder Mirana. She'd orchestrated family murders in original death cycles, made Kael watch his parents die repeatedly, psychological torture expert. She was scheduled for public execution, not by Kael's hand, by the clan's. Vex had found evidence linking her to recent crimes, real evidence this time, not planted by Kael. The execution was public, entire clan watching. Mirana knelt before the executioner, her last chance to speak, and she used it to point directly at Kael in the crowd. "The guilty one is among you," she shrieked. "The golden child is darkness! Can't you see him?" The crowd went silent. All eyes turned to 17-year-old Kael. He looked shocked, hurt, confused, perfect innocence. Elder Matthias stepped forward. "Lies of a desperate traitor! Execute her!" The blade fell. Mirana's head rolled, but her accusation lingered. Some clan members now looked at Kael differently, with suspicion, with fear. The perfect image was cracking. Vex approached Matthias after the execution. "My lord, we need to talk about your nephew." Vex presented everything to Matthias. The timeline, the patterns, the impossible coincidences. Every death somehow served to eliminate Kael's enemies or weaken his opponents. The evidence was circumstantial but overwhelming. "He's behind it all," Vex concluded. "I don't know how, but it's him." Matthias wanted to dismiss it. This was his nephew, the boy he'd raised, who smiled at him every day, who'd never shown anything but love and loyalty. But doubt crept in, because Matthias knew something others didn't. He knew about the 999 deaths in other timelines. What if Kael somehow remembered? "Bring him to me," Matthias ordered. "Alone. We'll test your theory." But Kael was done hiding. The subtle approach had served its purpose. Now it was time for overwhelming force. Time to stop picking them off one by one and start burning it all down. He made his move. Approached. Elder Garen privately, second most powerful elder. Ambitious. Always second to Matthias. Always hungry for more. "I have evidence of my uncle's crimes," Kael said, presenting documents. Real documents from the archives. Embezzlement, assassinations, forbidden practices, all true. "Why betray your own uncle?" Garen asked suspiciously. "He killed my father," Kael lied smoothly. "I want justice." It was the perfect motivation. Family revenge. Something Garen understood. He studied the evidence, saw opportunity, saw his chance to finally surpass Matthias. "I'll help you," Garen decided. "Together we can remove him." Perfect. Except Kael simultaneously sent anonymous evidence to Matthias. Fabricated plans showing Garen's assassination conspiracy. Documents that looked authentic. Detailed plots. To eliminate Matthias and seize power. Matthias read them and rage consumed him. Garen wanted him dead. After decades of working together. Betrayal from within. The Elder Council meeting was explosive. 7 remaining elders. The tension was suffocating. Accusations flew. Garen demanding Matthias answer for crimes. Matthias accusing Garen of conspiracy. Neither backing down. Both absolutely certain of betrayal. The neutral elder tried to mediate. "Brothers, we're being manipulated. Can't you see?" But it was too late. Both sides had invested too much. Believed too strongly. Garen stood, face red with fury. "You're unfit to lead this clan, Matthias. I'm calling for your removal." Matthias stood as well, voice cold as death. "Then you declare war, brother." The Elder Council shattered. 3 elders sided with Matthias. 3 with Garen. 1 remained neutral and terrified. But more importantly, the clan itself divided. Warriors chose sides. Families split. Friendships ended. Matthias faction, 120 warriors, experienced, loyal to tradition. Garen faction, 95 warriors, younger, hungry for change. Neutral, 32 members, mostly civilians, trying to avoid the conflict, and standing in the center of it all, untouched by suspicion, was 18-year-old Kael, publicly neutral, privately orchestrating every move. The first major clash happened in the marketplace. Garen faction warriors shopping. Kael leaked their location to Matthias faction. The ambush was brutal, swords drawn in public, civilians fleeing, blood on the cobblestones, 12 dead on both sides. The clan was killing itself. This was when Ceres found him, age 18, beautiful, and horrified by what was happening. "Kael, this is madness." She grabbed his arm. "Our clan is destroying itself. We have to stop this." Her plea was genuine. She really wanted peace, wanted to save their family, wanted Kael to help. "It's beyond stopping," Kael said. "We must choose a side." "No." Sarah shook her head. "We'll choose peace. Be the neutral voice. You're respected. They'll listen to you." "I support my uncle," Kael said firmly. "Family loyalty." It was the first crack. Ceres looked disappointed, hurt. She wanted Kael to be the hero who stopped the war. Instead, he was choosing a side, choosing violence, choosing wrong. Jaren appeared. Age 22 now. Strong, ambitious, an elder candidate in Garen's faction. He gently pulled Ceres away from Kael. "He's made his choice," Jaren said. "But you don't have to follow him into this." Kael watched them go. Watched Jaren comforting Ceres, planting seeds of doubt about Kael's judgment, creating connection, building the foundation for her betrayal. Everything proceeding exactly according to plan. The war escalated. Kael used shadow warriors to attack both sides. Frame each faction for atrocities against the other. Elder Saldor from Garen's faction died in an ambush. Garen's forces retaliated by killing Elder Tyron from Matthias' faction. Symmetrical destruction, balanced devastation, keeping both sides equally weakened so neither could win. Commander Vex investigated the death scenes, and finally, he found the pattern he'd been looking for. The wounds were identical. Victims from both factions killed by the same technique, the same power. Someone was playing both sides. He went to Matthias with his findings. "My lord, this changes everything. Someone is manipulating both factions, making you destroy each other." Matthias studied the evidence, the similar wounds, the strategic timing, the perfect balance of casualties, and suddenly, pieces clicked together. "Kael," he whispered. It's been Kael all along. I don't know how he's doing it, Vex admitted. But yes, every death, every conflict, every division, it all traces back to him. Matthias felt his world crumbling. The boy he'd raised, the nephew he'd loved. Was this because of the 999 deaths? Did Kael somehow remember? Was this revenge for something Matthias couldn't recall? Bring him to me, Matthias ordered. Immediately. We end this now. The summons came at midnight. Kael was to report to Elder Matthias's private study, alone, immediately. The tone was unusual, urgent, dangerous. Kael activated Death's gaze, looked at the possible futures, saw multiple threads. Confrontation. Truth. Violence. This was the moment, the end of subtlety, the beginning of open war. He could refuse. Confirming guilt, he could attack first, blowing his cover completely. Or he could go, face them, take the gamble. He chose door number 3. The study was dark. Elder Matthias sat behind his desk. Older now, worn, desperate. Commander Vex stood in shadows, hand near his sword. The trap was obvious. They knew, or suspected. Either way, Kael's perfect cover was about to end. Nephew, Matthias began, voice strained. We need to discuss the deaths. Kael played innocent. Of course, uncle. How can I help? Matthias asked questions, detailed questions, about locations, times, alibis. Kael answered smoothly. Everything practiced, every response perfect. But Vex was studying him, watching for tells, looking for cracks. Then Vex stepped forward from shadows. Enough games, boy. His sword was in his hand, not threatening. Yet, but ready. His eyes were certain. You're killing clan members systematically, Vex stated. You have some ability we don't understand, some power, and you've been using it to destroy this clan from within. Kael's mask slipped, just for a second. A slight smile, pride at being figured out, appreciation for Vex's intelligence. The expression was there and gone in an instant, but Vex caught it. There, Vex pointed. You smiled. You're enjoying this. The moment of decision. Keep lying? The alibi was solid. They had no real proof. Or... Kael looked at Matthias, at the desperate hope in his uncle's eyes. Hope that this was all a misunderstanding, that his nephew wasn't a monster, that the boy he'd raised hadn't become death incarnate. And Kael decided. He was done pretending. His smile came back. Full this time. Genuine. Terrifying. The smile of someone who'd been waiting years for this exact moment. You want to understand, Uncle? Kael's voice changed. Deeper, colder, ancient. Let me show you understanding. Power erupted. Death's mark glowed through his clothes. Black flames writhing across the symbol. Dark energy radiated from Kael's body like heat waves. The temperature dropped. Shadows lengthened unnaturally. The very air felt wrong. Vex drew his sword fully. Monster! Matthias stood, horror etched on his face. What are you? Kael's transformation was complete. The mask of the perfect nephew shattered. What stood before them wasn't human anymore. Eyes glowing with dark energy. Skin showing black veins of absorbed power. An 18-year-old body containing 999 lifetimes of pain and 20 absorbed souls of combat mastery. I am Kael Vossar, he said, each word dripping with power. I am 18 years old, and I am 1,036 years of suffering incarnate. Vex attacked. Pure instinct. Warrior's response to supernatural threat. His blade moved faster than thought. Aimed for Kael's throat. A killing strike. Perfect execution. Kael caught the blade barehanded. The steel touched his palm and began to dissolve. Necrotic touch turning metal to rust in seconds. Vex's legendary sword crumbled to dust in Kael's grip. "I've absorbed 19 master warriors," Kael said conversationally, moving behind Vex faster than the commander could track. "I move with the skill of over 1,000 years of combined experience. You never had a chance." Vex responded with pure martial arts, barehanded. Using technique honed over decades, he was brilliant, fast, skilled. Almost a match for Kael despite the power difference. Almost. But almost wasn't enough. They fought for 30 seconds, a flurry of strikes and counters. Vex landed hits, made Kael work for it, showed why he was legendary. But the outcome was inevitable. Kael's hand struck Vex's chest. Necrotic touch. The commander's heart stopped instantly. The wound prevented healing, guaranteed death. Vex collapsed. His last words were barely a whisper. The boy. From the beginning, it was always soul reaping activated. Vex's tactical genius flowing into Kael. Decades of investigation techniques, strategic thinking, military planning, all of it becoming Kael's. The body fell. 20 souls absorbed. Kael stood over the corpse without emotion. Then he turned to Matthias. Alone. Now, unarmed, terrified. "Please," Matthias begged, tears streaming down his face. "Kael, please. I can make this right. I'll give you everything. Power. The entire clan. The bloodline sword. It's all yours. Just please, stop this." Kael walked toward him, slowly, savoring the moment. This was the man who'd killed him 99 times, who'd orchestrated centuries of suffering, who'd destroyed him again and again without mercy. "I'm going to tell you something, Uncle," Kael said softly. "And I want you to really hear it. Because of what you did to me, 247 people died. Your son died. Your clan is extinct. The Vossar name will be erased from history. And it's all your fault. Was the bloodline sword worth it?" Matthias collapsed to his knees, the weight of the words crushing him. "No, nothing was worth this. Finally," Kael said. "You understand. 999 deaths too late." He raised his hand. Matthias closed his eyes, waited for death. Deserved death. But it didn't come. Instead, Kael spoke a word in the language of death. Dark magic flowed, a paralysis hex. Matthias's body froze, unable to move, unable to speak, a prisoner in his own flesh. "You don't die tonight, Uncle," Kael said. "I want you to watch. Watch everything you built crumble. Every person you care about dead. Every legacy erased. Then, when you have nothing left, when you've lost everything, only then will I grant you death." He positioned Matthias in the chair, set up a magical scrying crystal, forced his eyes open, made him look at the crystal. The image showed the clan compound, the fighting, the destruction. "You'll watch from this room," Kael explained. Unable to move, unable to warn anyone, just watching, witnessing the extinction of House Vossar, and you'll know that you caused it. That every death is on your hands. That if you just let me have the sword, none of this would have happened. Kael walked to the door, turned back one last time, looked at his uncle frozen in the chair, tears streaming down paralyzed cheeks, conscious but helpless, the perfect torture. "Goodbye, Uncle. Enjoy the show." The door locked behind him. Matthias was alone, trapped. And for the next 6 months, he'd watch his entire world burn. Unable to do anything but witness. That was revenge. That was justice. That was what 999 deaths earned you. Kael walked through the compound. No more hiding, no more pretending. His dark aura was visible now. Clan members backed away from him, sensing something wrong, something terrifying. The mask was off. Death's chosen was revealed, and now the real killing could begin. The compound fell within hours. Kael's shadow warriors swept through the buildings. Anyone who'd participated in executions died. Anyone who'd watched and done nothing died. Anyone guilty of the 999 deaths paid their debt in blood. By dawn, 73 clan members lay dead. The survivors fled to 4 fortress strongholds scattered across Vossar territory. 5 elders remained, each commanding a fortress, each believing walls and warriors could protect them from death's chosen. They were wrong. Kael prepared for war. He donned armor from the clan vault, ancient pieces forgotten for generations, dark metal that seemed to absorb light. He took weapons, enchanted blades, forbidden talismans, tools of destruction that previous warriors had deemed too dangerous to use. Kael had no such concerns. His power had grown exponentially. 20 souls absorbed. He could summon 30 shadow warriors simultaneously. His physical capabilities had transcended human limits. And most importantly, he was immortal. He couldn't die until the contract was fulfilled. The fortresses weren't protection. They were tombs waiting to be sealed. First, Target, the northern fortress, built on a frozen mountain peak, accessible only by a single narrow bridge. 45 warriors defending. Elder Cassandra commanding. An ice mage, master of cold. She'd killed Kael 38 times by freezing, trapped him in ice and watched him suffocate. She was about to learn that cold meant nothing to someone who'd died 999 times. Kael approached at dawn, walking through a snowstorm, one figure against a fortress. The defenders saw him coming, sounded alarms, prepared their defenses. Elder Cassandra stood on the battlements, watching with cold confidence. "Let him come," she said. "We'll freeze him like before." Before. The word suggested she remembered fragments. Maybe she did. Maybe some echo of the 999. Deaths bled through for the guilty. It didn't matter. Memory or not, she was about to die. Kael summoned his army of the fallen. 30 shadow warriors erupted from his aura, dark figures materializing from nothing. They marched with him across the bridge. The defenders panicked at the sight. Arrows rained down. The projectiles passed through shadows harmlessly. Normal. Weapons couldn't hurt the already dead. The bridge became a killing ground. 20 elite warriors formed a shield wall, tried to hold the narrow passage, but shadows flowed around them. Through them, the warriors fell one by one, some to shadow blades, some to the 50-foot drop below. Their screams echoed off the mountain as they plummeted to icy rocks. Kael walked through the battle untouched. Any warrior who came near him withered. Necrotic field passive effect. His mere presence was lethal within 10 feet. The gate dissolved at his touch. The fortress was breached. Inside the courtyard, 25 remaining warriors formed a circle around Elder Cassandra. Shields raised, weapons ready, last stand formation. Cassandra began chanting. Her hands glowed blue-white. The temperature plummeted, ice magic responding to her call. "You want to see real cold?" she screamed. "I'll show you a winter that never ends." Massive ice spears formed in the air, dozens of them, each one large enough to impale a horse. They launched at Kael like a barrage of frozen javelins. The attack was impressive, powerful enough to kill a normal warrior 100 times over. But Kael wasn't normal. He didn't dodge, didn't block, just walked forward. The ice spear struck him, pierced through his chest, his shoulder, his leg. Blood sprayed. His body was impaled by a dozen frozen weapons, and he kept walking. Didn't slow. Didn't stop. Death's chosen body couldn't die from mere wounds. Cassandra's confidence cracked. Impossible. You should be dead. I've been dead 999 times, Kael said, ripping an ice spear from his chest. The wound closed immediately. You can't kill what's already died 1,000 times. She unleashed everything. A blizzard manifested inside the fortress. Supernatural cold that could freeze flesh in seconds. The interior became an ice storm. Visibility dropped to 0. The defending warriors froze solid where they stood, became statues of ice, casualties of their own elders' desperate magic. Kael walked through it all. The cold that should have killed him did nothing. His body had adapted, remembered every freezing death, became immune. Deaths chosen, evolved through suffering, and Cassandra had taught him well across 38 frozen deaths. He reached her position. She threw more spells, ice walls, frozen barriers, desperate defenses. He walked through them like they were mist. His hand found her throat. And then he did something cruel, something poetic. He reversed the necrotic touch. Instead of decay, he channeled pure supernatural cold, colder than her strongest magic, colder than anything natural. Cassandra froze from the inside out. Her blood crystallized, her organs turned to ice, but she remained conscious through it all, feeling every second of the transformation. It burns, she gasped. It burns like fire. Funny, Kael said. That's exactly what I said in Death 214, when you froze me alive and watched me beg. Her body shattered, like glass dropped on stone. Fragments of Elder Cassandra scattered across the frozen courtyard. Soul reaping activated. 40 years of ice magic knowledge absorbed. 7 of 12 elders dead. The northern fortress was claimed. Kael allowed the innocent to flee. 13 warriors who'd never participated in executions. They ran down the mountain and never looked back. The guilty. 8 of them. He executed on the spot. No ceremony, just justice. Then he burned the fortress. Watched it collapse into the mountain valley below. 1 fortress down. 3 to go. Next target, the eastern fortress, hidden in dense forest. Natural maze of trees that confuse travelers. 40 defenders. 2 elders commanding together. Elder, Saren, Master of Illusions, and Elder Vorath, Beast Tamer. Together they'd orchestrated deaths 401 through 500, the dungeon torture phase. Psychological warfare. They specialized in breaking minds before breaking bodies. Kael entered the forest at night. Immediately, the illusion maze activated. The trees shifted. Paths changed. Up became down. Left became right. Disorienting magic meant to trap intruders forever. Saren's specialty, but Death's gaze cut through illusions. Kael saw the true path as a single thread through chaos. He followed it exactly. The fake threats couldn't touch him. The phantom horrors dissolved when he walked through them. Saren tried psychological warfare. Made illusions of Kael's parents. His mother appeared, crying, pleading. Why did you let us die, son? You could have saved us. His father materialized, accusing, angry. This is your fault, all of it. You brought this on us. Emotional manipulation, targeting guilt, trying to break Kael's resolve by weaponizing his love for them. It might have worked on a normal person, but Kael had endured this exact attack in Death Cycle 438. He knew these were fake, had learned to recognize the difference between memory and illusion. You're not real, he said calmly. I've seen these ghosts for 999 lifetimes. Try something new. The illusions shattered. Saren's technique failed. Vorath took over. If psychological tricks didn't work, physical force would. He summoned his beasts, 3 massive creatures, Wolf-like but wrong, 10 feet tall, muscles like iron, red glowing eyes, shadow beasts bred specifically for killing. They attacked in coordinated packs, fast, vicious, strong enough to tear through stone. It was genuinely dangerous, even for Kael. He responded with his own shadow warriors, undead versus beasts. The battle was primal, savage. It lasted 5 minutes. His shadows won, but only barely. Then Vorath summoned his ultimate weapon, a chimera. Dragon-sized horror, multiple heads, each one breathing different elements. Fire, poison, acid, lightning. A creature that shouldn't exist, something Vorath had created through forbidden rituals and decades of dark experimentation. It was the first enemy that actually threatened Kael. The chimera's raw power was immense. Its attacks were devastating. This wasn't something he could just walk through. He had to fight it properly, use everything he'd learned across 999 deaths and 20 absorbed warriors. The battle was epic. Kael versus impossible, monster. He used speed, used precision, climbed up the creature's back while dodging its attacks, reached its central head, applied necrotic touch directly to the brain. The chimera collapsed mid-roar. The supernatural wound killed it instantly. The massive body crashed to the forest floor. Impressive kill. Necessary kill. Kael breached the fortress. Inside, Saren and Vorath stood at the center of a ritual circle. They'd been preparing, waiting for this moment. Not to kill Kael. They'd learned that was impossible, but to trap him. "We're not trying to summon Life's Guardian," Saren announced. "We're sealing you. Forever." The spell activated. Ancient binding magic. Chains of pure light erupted from the circle, wrapped around Kael's body, suppressed his power, restrained his movements. It was working. The seal was holding. And then Kael started laughing. Genuinely laughing. Despite being bound. Despite the chains crushing him. "You used a sealing ritual?" he managed between laughs. "That's how you gave me death 999. The elders' faces went pale. They realized their mistake too late. Sealing rituals counted as death. They just triggered the completion of Kael's contract with death. The thing they were trying to prevent, they'd just caused. Power exploded from Kael's body. The chains didn't just break, they disintegrated. The ritual circle shattered. The entire fortress shook. Kael's transformation completed. Death's mark spread across more of his skin. His power didn't just return. It doubled. Evolution. Apotheosis. The next level of Death's chosen. New ability unlocked. Death's domain. Within 50 feet, Kael controlled life and death absolutely. He demonstrated immediately. Gestured casually. Every plant in the hall withered instantly. Elder Saren began aging rapidly. Years passing in seconds. Elder Vorath's heart simply stopped beating. His blood stopped flowing. They couldn't resist. Within his domain, Kael's will was law. Saren died trapped in an illusion of his own making. Kael forced him to experience all 999 deaths. Subjective eternity compressed into seconds. The Elder's mind shattered completely before Kael granted mercy and killed him. Soul reaping. Illusion mastery absorbed. Vorath died torn apart by his own beasts. Kael summoned the dead chimera as a shadow. Let it consume its former master. Poetic. Justice. Soul reaping. Beast mastery absorbed. 9 of 12 elders dead. 2 fortresses fallen in 2 days. Third target, the southern fortress. Cliffside location overlooking the ocean. Naval escape route if needed. 32 defenders. Elder Tyra commanding. Poison master. Student of Sylvana. She'd experimented on Kael with toxins for deaths 151 through 200. Treated him like a lab rat. Tested compounds. Recorded results. Scientific torture. She'd learned from the previous fortress defeats, decided not to wait inside walls. As Kael approached, she released the fortress's entire poison stockpile. Toxic green clouds billowed out, covered the entire approach, deadly enough to kill anyone who breathed it, lethal enough to dissolve exposed skin in seconds. Kael walked into the poison cloud without hesitation. The toxin swirled around him, touched his skin, entered his lungs, did absolutely nothing. His death-chosen body was immune. After dying to hundreds of different poisons, his system had adapted, became resistant to all chemical attacks. Tyra's ultimate weapon was useless. The defenders on the walls watched in horror as Kael emerged from the poison unharmed. Not even. Coughing. Just walking. Still coming. Impossible, Tyra shrieked. That's my strongest compound. It should dissolve flesh. I've died to every poison you know, Kael called back. My body learned, adapted, evolved. You can't poison what's already survived 999 toxins. Tyra made a desperate decision. Ordered immediate evacuation to the ships. The fortress had a hidden dock, 3 vessels ready for escape. She and 12 warriors boarded, cast off, started pulling away from the fortress, distance growing, 100 feet, 200, the ocean between them and the demon child. We're safe, someone shouted. He can't reach us. Then Kael demonstrated a new ability. Dark energy formed wings, not physical, made of pure death magic. They spread from his back, massive, beautiful, terrible. And then he flew, actually flew, soared across the ocean toward the escaping ship. The absolute terror on their faces was exquisite. They'd thought they were safe, thought the water protected them. But Death's Chosen had no limits, no boundaries, no escape. Kael landed on the ship's deck, surrounded by 12 warriors in confined space. They attacked simultaneously. Coordinated. Assault. But the deck was small. They got in each other's way. Kael used that. Used every absorbed technique. Fought with the savagery of the beasts he'd killed earlier. In 2 minutes, all 12 were dead. Bodies sliding off the blood-soaked deck into the ocean. Elder Tyra stood alone at the bow. Cornered. She threw every poison vial she had. Her entire arsenal. Dozens of compounds. Each one deadly. They splashed against Kael. Soaked him. Did nothing. Last chance, Kael said, grabbing her wrist. Tell me you're sorry. For what? She screamed. I don't remember hurting you. Exactly, Kael said. You don't remember. That's why this is justice, not revenge. He injected her, not with one poison, with all of them. Every compound she'd ever used on him. 50 different toxins simultaneously. They fought each other in her bloodstream, created reactions that shouldn't be possible. Her veins turned black immediately. She collapsed. Convulsing. The agony lasted exactly 10 minutes. Kael timed it. The same duration he'd suffered in Death 156, when she'd tested slow-acting poisons on him while taking detailed notes. Scientific curiosity causing unimaginable pain. Now she understood. Now she knew. Then mercy. Then death. Then soul-reaping. Poison mastery complete. 10 of 12 elders dead. 3 fortresses destroyed. 1 remained. The Western Fortress. The strongest. In a mountain canyon, only one approach. 60 warriors, the largest remaining force. 2 elders commanding. Elder Ren, master strategist. And Elder Mordain, the ancient historian, age 80. The oldest living Vossar. Kael approached at dawn, walking the canyon path, ready for the final fortress assault. But something unexpected happened. The gates opened. A figure emerged. Ancient Mordain, alone, unarmed. He walked toward Kael, not attacking, not running, just walking. Kael Vossar, the old man called. I wish to negotiate. Kael stopped, curious. Death's gaze showed no immediate threats. This wasn't an ambush. The old man genuinely wanted to talk. They met in the middle of the canyon, Kael towering with dark power, Mordain small and frail. But the old man's eyes were knowing, ancient, tired. I remember, Mordain said quietly. I remember your faces, all 999 of them. Kael's eyes widened. You remember the cycles? I am clan historian, Mordain explained. I see what others forget. I tried to stop them after Death 100. They wouldn't listen. I am complicit. I deserve death. But I ask mercy for the innocent. Most warriors here never killed you. They're young, following orders. Spare them. Take me and Ren. Let others live. End the cycle. It was a genuine offer, a chance to show mercy, to choose who lived and died rather than killing indiscriminately. The contract required all guilty, parties eliminated. But how guilty were the young warriors? The ones just following orders? Kael activated Death's gaze, examined each of the 60 warriors, reviewed their pasts, their actions, their involvement. 45 were truly innocent, just doing their duty. 15 had participated in executions, had killed Kael personally in past lives. Death's voice whispered in his mind. I leave this to you, Chosen. They are yours to judge. Kill all or spare some. But the architects must die. That is absolute. Kael made his decision. Send out the 15 guilty. They die. Others may leave. Mordain nodded, returned to the fortress. There was hesitation. Some warriors didn't want to be separated. Some guilty, tried to hide among innocent. But Kael's knowledge was perfect. He could name each guilty warrior, describe their crimes. The accuracy was undeniable. 15 warriors were pushed forward, lined up before the fortress gate. Kael executed them personally, quick, efficient. No torture this time. They'd followed orders. That wasn't the same as orchestrating 999 deaths. Soul reaping took them all. 15 more absorbed. The power was overwhelming now. Then Elder Ren made a mistake. Pushed Ceres through the gates. She was chained, used as a hostage. One more step, she dies, Ren threatened, blade at her throat. Ceres looked at Kael, terrified, pleading. Kael, please, I'm sorry. I was wrong about you. Kael kept walking. Didn't slow. Ren's eyes went wide. I'll kill her. I swear. Go ahead, Kael said coldly. She's already dead to me. Ceres's face crumbled. The words hit harder than any blade. He meant it. After everything. After their engagement. After years of pretending to love her. He genuinely didn't care if she lived or died. Kael, you don't mean that, she whispered. You betrayed me for Jaren, Kael said. Again, just like you did 247 times before. In 247 lifetimes, you chose power over love. Every single time. Why would this cycle be different? What are you talking about? She was confused, desperate. There's only one life. For you, maybe, Kael said. For me, there were 999, and you killed me in 247 of them. Ren loosened his grip, stunned by the impossible conversation. That moment of distraction was enough. Kael's shadow struck, cut Ren's throat before he could react. The elder collapsed, gurgling, dying. Ceres fell forward, free. Elder Ren bled out in seconds, soul reaping. Strategic mastery absorbed. 11. Of 12 elders dead, Ceres crawled toward Kael, desperate. Kael, I love you. I always have. Please." "No," Kael said. "You love power. You loved the air. When I was revealed as a monster, you chose Jaren, an elder candidate, just like you always do." "I was scared," she cried. "You were killing everyone." "I'm killing the guilty," Kael corrected. "You're not guilty of murder, so I'll spare your life, but I won't forgive you." He placed a mark on her, dark magic burning into her skin. A curse. She'd live a long life. Watch everything she wanted crumble. See Jaren die. See the clan end. Live in poverty. Alone. Forgotten. She'd live to 80, remembering what she lost, what she could have had, if she'd just chosen love over ambition. "That's worse than death," she gasped. "Yes," Kael agreed. "That's the point. Goodbye, Ceres. Enjoy your long life." He left her crying on the ground, walked into the fortress, found Elder Mordain waiting in the inner sanctum. Alone. Accepting. "I watched you die 999 times, Mordain said. "I did nothing. Fear, tradition, cowardice. I thought clan loyalty mattered more than one life. I learned too, late, that one life matters more than any clan. Make it quick. I'm too old for suffering." Kael studied him, the only elder who'd tried to stop it, who'd failed but at least tried. That counted for something. "Quick death," Kael agreed. "Because you tried. Necrotic touch. Painless. Instant." Mordain slumped. 60 years of clan history absorbed. 12 of 12 elders dead. The Elder Council was extinct. 4 fortresses destroyed. 12 elders eliminated. But 141 guilty clan members remained, scattered across Vossar territory, hiding in villages, living under false names, thinking distance would save them. They were wrong. For 30 days and 30 nights, death walked the mountains. Kael hunted, systematically, efficiently, using every tool at his disposal, and the body count climbed. Week 1, the remaining enforcers, 8 still alive, scattered and hiding. Kael tracked them personally. Found one disguised as a farmer in a distant village. The man had killed Kael 37 times. Thought he'd escaped. Thought new identity meant safety. Kael executed him in the town square. Public. Brutal. Made it clear what was happening. This was judgment. This was the price of 999 murders. The message spread. Terror rippled through every village. The survivors ran further, hid deeper. It didn't matter. Kael found them all. Each enforcer died exactly how they'd killed him. The one who'd drowned him died underwater. The one who'd burned him died in flames. Perfect symmetry. Perfect justice. Week 2. The accomplices. 45 clan members who hadn't killed directly but had assisted. Torturers. Jailers. Suppliers of weapons and poisons. Kael sent his shadow. Warriors. They could hunt while he rested. No sleep needed. No breaks. 24/7 elimination. The shadows materialized in bedrooms. Killed in sleep. Left bodies marked with death symbol. The message was clear. No one escapes. No one is forgotten. Every guilty party would pay. Week 3. The witnesses. 73 clan members who'd watched executions and done nothing. This was morally complex. They hadn't killed, hadn't helped. They just stood by. Was that enough to deserve death? Kael judged each individually, questioned them, used death's gaze to see their pasts, their choices, their reasons. Some had been powerless, genuinely unable to help, children at the time, or threatened into silence. 12 fell into this category. He spared them. But 61 had been complicit. Adults who could have acted, who chose not to, who watched Kael die and turned away because it was easier, because it wasn't their problem. Those 61 died. One was an elderly woman. She'd watched Death 234, seen Kael executed, said nothing, done nothing. I was powerless, she pleaded. What could I do? You could have tried, Kael said. You didn't. That's enough. Quick death, no torture, but death nonetheless, because standing by while evil happens is its own form of evil. Week 4. The Hunters. 15 elite trackers who'd hunted Kael across 999 lifetimes. They'd banded together, fortified a mountain position, set up ambushes. They were genuinely dangerous, professional killers who'd learned from previous failures. The battle was real. Coordinated assault by masters, magical explosives, fallback positions. They made Kael work for it. 10 minutes of genuine combat impressed him with their skill and preparation. But they were still only human, and he was Death's chosen with 247 absorbed lifetimes of experience. He won, used their own tactics against them, absorbed their techniques mid-fight. The last hunter begged for mercy. You hunted me 89 times, Kael said. Never showed mercy. Why should I? Final kill. All 15 dead. Month complete. 141 guilty clan members eliminated, added to the 106 killed previously. Total, 247 souls absorbed. The contract number, every guilty party dead. Kael's power was godlike now, barely contained in human form, his eyes permanently black, his skin showing dark veins. He was more death than man. He returned to the main compound, walking under moonlight, his dark aura visible for miles. A lone figure surrounded by the shadows of 247 dead. The Vossar clan was functionally extinct. Only one person remained. The architect, the orchestrator, the man who'd started it all. Elder Matthias, still paralyzed in his chair, still forced to watch through the scrying crystal. For 4 months, he'd witnessed everything. Every fortress falling, every elder dying, every clan member executed. His son Marcus killed by Kael's hand, his legacy destroyed piece by piece. Unable to move, unable to scream, just watching, helpless. Kael entered the chamber. Matthias sat there, tears streaming down his paralyzed face. Broken, devastated. Everything he'd built, gone. Everyone he'd cared about, dead. And it was all his fault. Because he'd wanted a sword. Because he'd killed one boy 999 times. You did it, Matthias managed to whisper. The paralysis was wearing off slightly, just enough to speak. You destroyed everything. Not everything, Kael said. You're still breathing. Why? Matthias screamed. Broken voice, shattered mind. Why kill 247 people? And Kael explained. Everything. The 999 deaths across multiple timelines. The regression that reset him to age 5. The contract with death. The systematic revenge. The cold mathematics of justice. Every cycle you murdered me. Sometimes I was 10, sometimes 15, sometimes 23. But always, you killed me. Do you understand now? The man you just watched destroy your clan has died almost 1,000 times at your hand. Matthias sobbed, the weight crushing him. Then I truly am the monster you say. Yes, Kael confirmed. And now you'll pay for it. Not with one death, with 999. Matthias's eyes went wide. That's impossible. I am Death's chosen, Kael said. Watch. For 30 days, Kael killed Matthias. Brought him back. Killed him again. Each death recreated an original murder. Death 1, stabbed through the heart. Death 2, poisoned. Death 3, burned. Every method, every torture, every moment of agony, from 999 lifetimes, inflicted in 1 month. Matthias died and died and died, resurrected each time, forced to experience it all. His sanity shattered, his mind broke, his soul screamed, but Kael continued, methodically. 999 deaths, one for each time Matthias had killed him. On day 30, death 999 arrived. Kael stood over his uncle. The man was barely conscious, broken beyond repair. This is the 999th time I'm killing you, uncle. Now you understand. Please, Matthias whispered. Let it end. It does, Kael said. But first, answer me. Was the bloodline sword worth this? Worth 999 murders? Worth your son's death? Worth your clan's extinction? Matthias looked up at him, tears streaming, voice broken. No. Nothing was worth this. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Your apology doesn't bring back 999 lifetimes, Kael said coldly. It doesn't revive 247 dead. It means nothing. He activated necrotic touch one final time. But not quick, slow, painful. 10 minutes of dissolution. Matthias's body breaking down at the cellular level. Consciousness maintained until the final second, forced to feel every moment of his own ending. Elder Matthias Vossar died. The last guilty party. The architect of 999 murders. Soul reaping activated. Kael absorbed the final soul. 247 complete. The contract number achieved. Every guilty Vossar dead by his hand. Kael stood alone in the empty chamber, surrounded by ash that had been his uncle. The room was silent. The compound was empty. The Vossar clan was extinct. 999 deaths avenged. 247 killers eliminated. Justice served. So why did he feel nothing? No satisfaction, no closure, no peace, just emptiness. Hollow victory. He'd killed everyone responsible and gained nothing except more death. The realization hit him like a physical blow. Revenge doesn't heal. It just makes you empty. You destroy your enemies and remain destroyed. The pain doesn't go away. It just spreads, multiplies, consumes everything. Kael had won, and he'd lost. Because the boy who died 999 times was still dead. The family who'd been murdered was still gone. The innocence that had been stolen couldn't be returned. Killing 247 people didn't fix anything. It just created 247 more tragedies, more orphans, more widows, more grief. I've killed everyone responsible, Kael whispered to the empty room. Why don't I feel anything? The answer was simple, terrible, unavoidable. Because revenge is a poison that kills the avenger too. You become what you hate. You do what they did. You lose what they took. And in the end, you're left with nothing but ashes and regret. Kael sat in the throne room of the extinct Vossar clan, surrounded by death, covered in blood, wielding godlike power, and completely, utterly alone. The victory was complete. The revenge was perfect. The justice was absolute, and it meant nothing. 3 days passed. Kael wandered the destroyed compound like a ghost. Shadow warriors removed bodies, cleaned blood, dismantled the evidence of 247 murders. But they couldn't clean Kael's mind, couldn't remove the memories, couldn't fill the void where satisfaction should have been. He hadn't slept, couldn't sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw them, not the guilty. The 247 absorbed souls whispered constantly, Marcus asking why, his mother crying. Strangers whose only crime was being born Vossar, their voices mixed with his own memories. 999 deaths, 247 kills, over 1,000 lifetimes of trauma compressed into one 18-year-old mind. He was fracturing, breaking under the weight of it all. The power was too much, the memories too many, the guilt too heavy. He'd won. He'd avenged every death, he'd eliminated every guilty party, and he'd destroyed himself in the process. That's when Liana found him, the healer's daughter, 27 years old now. One of the innocents he'd spared years ago. She'd heard about the clan's extinction, come back to see if anyone survived. Found Kael sitting on the throne, alone, covered in dried blood, looking like a corpse that forgot to die. Kael. Her voice was horrified. What have you become? He looked up at her. His eyes were empty, dead, ancient. A monster, just like they said. She walked closer, despite the fear, despite the danger, despite everything logical telling her to run. You're hurt. There's a difference. I killed 247 people, Kael said flatly. How is that not monstrous? They killed you 999. Times first? Liana sat beside him, close enough to touch. I don't know if that makes it right, but I know you're suffering. It was the first honest conversation since Marcus. The first time someone saw him as a person instead of a weapon. The first moment of humanity in months. I thought revenge would fix me, Kael confessed, voice cracking. I thought if I killed everyone responsible, the pain would stop, but I still remember every death, every betrayal. Nothing changed. I just added 247 more deaths to the pile. Revenge doesn't erase pain, Liana said gently. It just spreads it around. Then what was the point? Kael looked at her, desperate for an answer. Why did I do this? Justice, maybe? Liana offered. But not healing. Killing your enemies doesn't heal your wounds. It just creates new ones. The truth of it hit Kael like a hammer. He'd wasted everything. 18 years planning, 247 lives taken, all for nothing. The boy who died 999 times was still broken. The family who'd been murdered was still gone. The innocent stolen couldn't be returned. He'd won and lost simultaneously. That's when the presence manifested. Massive, overwhelming, inevitable. Death itself appeared in the throne room. The entity that had given Kael his power. Come to collect. Liana screamed and backed away. She could see it, the swirling void, the countless faces, the embodiment of ending. Death had come. Kael Vossar. The voice contained multitudes. The contract is complete. 247 guilty Vossars dead by your hand. Every debt paid. Every murder avenged. Now you choose. The two options appeared. Kael knew them already, had known since the beginning. Option 1. Join death eternally. Become a reaper. Hunt souls forever. Use these powers to judge the wicked across all of existence. Never rest. Never stop. Just eternal service to death itself. Option 2. Rest forever. Cease existing. No more pain, no more memory, no more anything. True oblivion. The final end to 999 lifetimes of suffering. Both options made sense. Eternal service or eternal rest. Power or peace. But as Kael looked at them, as he felt the weight of 247 souls in his consciousness, as he saw Liana's terrified face, he realized something. What if I choose neither? Kael asked. Death's presence shifted, confused. There is no third option. You said I'm death's chosen. Kael stood. That means I have your power, which means I can renegotiate. Mortals don't dictate terms to gods, Death's voice boomed. But I'm not mortal anymore, am I? Kael challenged. I have 247 absorbed souls, 999 lifetimes of experience. Power you gave me. I could refuse both options. What would you do? The confrontation was real. Death threatened force. Kael stood firm. He wasn't afraid. Fear required caring about consequences, and Kael had nothing left to lose. Death had taken everything already. What more could it do? The standoff continued. Two entities of death. One ancient, one newborn, but both powerful, both dangerous, both unwilling to back down. Finally, Death spoke. "What do you want, Chosen?" Kael took a breath. This was his gamble, his last hope. "I want a third option. I don't want eternal service or eternal death. I want to live. One normal lifetime. No powers, no memories of specific deaths, just peace. Let me forget the 999 deaths and start fresh." "You would give up godhood for ignorance?" Death sounded genuinely curious. "These powers are a curse," Kael said. "These memories are torture. Yes, I'd trade everything for one normal life. One chance to be human again." Death considered, the massive presence contemplating. Then it spoke. "I'll grant your wish, with conditions." The terms appeared in Kael's mind, clear, specific, binding. Condition 1, one normal lifetime. 80 years, mortal, vulnerable, no regression if he dies. Condition 2, all memories of revenge erased. The specific deaths, the names, the faces, the acts, all gone. He'd know he did something terrible, but not the details. Condition 3, keep the lessons. The 999 deaths taught him something. Pain's purpose, mercy's value, justice's cost. Those lessons would remain, not as memory, as instinct, as core wisdom. Condition 4, when he dies naturally at 80, the choice returns. Serve death eternally or rest forever. Final decision then. No third option next time. Kael listened to the terms, thought about them, looked at Liana watching from the corner. A reminder that kindness existed, that people could be good, that life had value beyond revenge. "I accept," Kael said. "Take the power, take the memories. Give me one chance to live without 999 deaths hanging over me." Death's approval resonated. "Wise choice, young one. Few would surrender. Godhood. You've learned what most never do. That power without peace is worthless." The ritual began. Dark energy swirled around Kael. Death's mark started fading from his chest. The black flames dying, the symbol disappearing, power being extracted, piece by piece, ability by ability. Everything that made him Death's chosen was being removed. The 247 absorbed souls began flowing out, released, freed. They spiraled upward, returning to whatever afterlife awaited. Kael felt each one leave. Marcus, his parents, the enforcers, the elders, all of them departing, taking their knowledge with them, taking their voices, taking the weight. His power diminished. The immortality faded. The abilities vanished. Necrotic touch. Death's gaze. Army of the fallen. Soul reaping. Death's domain. All of it leaving, being reclaimed by the entity that granted it. The memories eroded next. The specific faces blurred. The names faded. The exact details of 999 deaths dissolved like mist. He'd know he suffered. Know he took revenge. But the torture of remembering every specific moment? That was being removed. Mercy through forgetting. What remained was wisdom. Instinct. Core understanding. Choose creation over destruction. Choose mercy over vengeance. Choose life over death. The lessons learned across 999 lifetimes compressed into fundamental truths that would guide him without haunting him. Kael's body transformed. The dark veins faded. The dead eyes gained color. The ancient presence left. He became what he should have been. An 18-year-old man. Normal. Mortal. Weak. Human. He collapsed. The sudden lack of power overwhelming. Leanna caught him. Held him. He looked up at her with normal eyes. Tears streaming. "I forgot what normal felt like," he whispered. Death's presence began to fade. Its final words echoed. "In 80 years, we meet again. Choose wisely then. You were my finest chosen, Kael, because you chose to stop being chosen." Then it was gone. Just Kael and Leanna in a ruined throne room, surrounded by the ashes of revenge. But Kael was free, mortal, vulnerable, alive. "What now?" he asked. Leanna smiled. "Now we live." 6 months later, Kael and Leanna left the compound for the last time. They watched it burn. Every building, every stone, every reminder of the Vossar clan. They'd spent weeks setting up the fire, making sure nothing remained. No legacy, no history. Just ashes that would scatter in the wind. As the flames rose, Kael felt nothing. No satisfaction. No regret. Just closure. That chapter was done. Time for a new one. They traveled to a small village, far from Vossar territory, far from anyone who'd recognize the name. Kael became a blacksmith's apprentice, started over, learned a trade, used his hands to create instead of destroy. The memories were foggy. He knew he'd done something terrible, killed a lot of people. There was a reason, justice or revenge or something in between, but the details wouldn't come. Just vague feelings, guilt without specifics, regret without memory. It was better this way. He could live with knowing he'd been a killer. He couldn't have lived remembering every face, every death, every moment. The forgetting was a gift. Leanna stayed with him, ran a small clinic, healed people. The opposite of what Kael had been. They complemented each other. Death and life, destruction and healing. Gradually, they became more than friends, more than survivor and savior. Something new, something good. 1 year after the extinction, Kael returned to the ruins, alone. Private ritual. He gathered 247 stones, one for each person he'd killed. Arranged them in a circle. No names, no monument, just stones. Acknowledgement that they'd existed, that their deaths meant something. That he remembered even if he couldn't remember. He placed one extra stone. For himself. For the boy who died 999 times. For the person he'd been before revenge consumed him. "I don't remember your faces," Kael said to the stones, "but I know what I did. I'm sorry it came to this. I'll try to live well. Make your deaths mean something beyond revenge." He also visited the old shrine. The bloodline sword was still there, untouched, glowing with ancient power, still waiting for its chosen heir. Kael walked up to it. The sword recognized him, started to bond, offered everything Matthias had killed for: power, destiny, legacy. Kael looked at it, felt the temptation, felt the pull. Then he walked away, left it there, rejected the cycle, because that sword was what started everything. What cost 999 lives and 247 deaths? What destroyed an entire clan? It could stay there forever. Unclaimed, a memorial to the price of ambition. 2 years later, age 20, Kael was an established blacksmith, respected in the village. Known for quality work, for fairness, for kindness. People liked him, trusted him. Had no idea what he'd been. He and Leanna grew closer. What started as survival partnership became genuine love, real love, not political marriage like Ceres, not manipulation, just two broken people healing together. 5 years after, age 23, they married. Small ceremony, nothing fancy. Just two people promising to face life together. Liana was pregnant, their first child. Kael was going to be a father. The boy who'd been murdered 999 times was going to create life. The irony wasn't lost on him. He'd spent 999 lifetimes dying. Now he was going to raise a life. Be a parent. Teach someone to be better than he'd been. Break the cycle of violence. Create instead of destroy. 10 years after, age 28, 2 children, a daughter and a son. Kael taught his son blacksmithing, showed him how to shape metal, create tools, build things that lasted. His son got frustrated when a project failed, threw the hammer down. "I can't do it!" Kael picked up the hammer, smiled. Failure teaches more than success. I learned that the hard way. Try again. Be patient. Creation takes time. It was wisdom earned across 999 deaths. But the boy didn't need to know that. Didn't need the trauma. Just the lesson. Choose patience. Choose growth. Choose creation. Life continued. Kael aged, grew older. Gray entered his hair. His hands became calloused from honest work. His face showed smile lines instead of scars. He was happy. Actually happy. Not the false happiness of revenge. Not the empty satisfaction of victory. Real contentment. Peace earned through living well. Ceres lived too, in a distant city, alone, aged beyond her years, the curse active. Everything she touched failed. Jaren died of plague years ago. She had nothing. No money, no family, no friends, just memories of what could have been. If she'd chosen love over power, if she'd stayed loyal, if she'd trusted Kael. She lived to 80. Just like Kael promised. A long life of regret. Understanding finally what she'd lost. That was her punishment. Not death, but life without meaning. That was worse. 79 years after the extinction. Kael was 97. Ancient. Lying. In bed. Surrounded by family. Children. Grandchildren. Great-grandchildren. A legacy of life instead of death. Liana had passed peacefully 5 years earlier. Now it was his turn. He wasn't afraid. He'd died 999 times. He knew what came next. His family said goodbye. Tears and love. They didn't know his past. Didn't know what he'd been. Just knew him as great-grandfather. The kind old blacksmith who told strange stories and taught important lessons. His eyes closed. His heart slowed. And in that final moment, death returned. Same presence. Same offer. Same choice. Well, done, Kael Vossar. You lived well. 80 years of peace. You created life instead of taking it. You chose healing over hatred. Now choose again. Serve me eternally or rest forever. But there was a third option now. Death revealed it. Had always been there, just hidden. Rebirth. True reincarnation. Be born again. New soul. New life. No burden of past. The lessons you learned become instinct. You won't remember any of this, but you'll be better for having lived it. 3 options. 3 paths. 3 possibilities. Kael thought about eternal service, helping others like him, preventing tragedies. It had value. He thought about eternal rest, finally ending 999 lifetimes plus 80 years, just stopping. It had appeal. He thought about rebirth, starting completely fresh, becoming someone new, learning lessons without trauma. It had hope. Rebirth, Kael chose. Let me try again. Without the weight, without the pain, just the wisdom. Death approved. Few choose this. Most cling to identity. You learn to let go. That's rare. That's valuable. The transformation began. Kael's soul dissolved into light. Memories fading. Identity fading. Everything that made him Kael Vossar disappearing. What remained was essence. Wisdom without context. Understanding without specifics. Choose mercy. Choose creation. Choose life. Those truths remained. Everything else was released. A new world. A new time. A different kingdom. A baby's cry. New life beginning. Kael's essence in completely new form. No memory of 999 deaths. No memory of 247 kills. No memory of revenge or power or pain. But somewhere deep in that new soul, wisdom remained. An instinct toward kindness. A preference for creation. A choice for mercy. The boy who died 999 times was gone. But the lessons he learned lived on. And that was enough. That was everything. That was justice without vengeance. That was growth without trauma. That was the true ending. The cycle of revenge stopped because someone chose to stop it. Kael destroyed his enemies and saved himself by learning revenge isn't the answer. That living well is better than killing well. That creating one life means more than ending 1,000. The Vossar clan was extinct, its crimes erased with its existence. But the lesson remained. Choose differently. Be better. Break the cycle. And somewhere, in a peaceful village, a baby smiled, knowing nothing, remembering nothing, but carrying wisdom earned across 1,000 lifetimes, ready to live, ready to choose, ready to be better than those who came before. The story of deaths, chosen, ended. The story of a new life began, and the world was better for it. And so ends the tale of Kael Vossar. Deaths chosen. A boy killed 999 times who killed 247 in return. Who learned that revenge is empty, but living well is not. Who chose mortality over godhood and rebirth over rest. The Vossar clan is extinct. Its crimes erased with its existence. 247 people died for the sins of murdering one boy 999 times. But the lesson remains. The cycle of revenge only ends when someone chooses to stop. Kael's story asks us something important. When is revenge justice and when is it just more violence? He was wronged beyond measure. 999 deaths warrant response. But did 247 deaths fix anything? Did it heal his pain? The answer came not in killing, but in choosing to live differently. Sometimes the greatest revenge isn't destroying your enemies. It's refusing to let their evil define you. Kael destroyed the Vossar clan, but more importantly, he saved himself. He learned what they never could. That mercy is stronger than vengeance. That creation means more than destruction. That one life lived well outweighs 1,000 deaths dealt in anger. So here's the question for you. What would you have chosen at the end? Eternal service as Death's Reaper, hunting guilty souls forever. Eternal rest, finally ending after 999 lifetimes of suffering? Or rebirth, starting completely fresh with only wisdom remaining? Drop your choice in the comments. I'm genuinely curious what you'd pick. Did Kael deserve his revenge? Were his actions justified? Was killing 247 people the right response to dying 999 times? Let's debate in the comments. I want to hear your thoughts on justice versus vengeance. If you made it through this entire 2-hour epic, you're absolutely incredible. Smash that like button right now. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications. More epic stories are coming. If you love this regression revenge story, you'll love what's next. And remember, the best revenge isn't destruction, it's becoming everything they said you couldn't be. Kael learned that across 999 lifetimes. Maybe we can learn it faster. Until next time, choose mercy when you can, and justice when you must. This has been the story of Death's Chosen. May we all choose life instead. Thanks for watching.